Talk's friendly little proletariat uprising. America's first competition talk show. You're in the hub.
There's a topic we just had to get into here because there's some good Muslim children, well, high school students roughly, that are playing high school football up in Michigan right now, and they recently changed the times of practice in order to accommodate Ramadan Ding Dong. 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. Why, you ask? Because apparently during Ramadan, you cannot eat during Ramadan, during daylight hours. So in other words, if you're getting dehydrated out on the practice field and you don't have any way to get the sustenance that you so desire and keep hydrated, then you're going to faint. You're going to have Muslims fainting all over the field. And that is just a messy situation. And so they moved it to the middle of the night so they can drink freely. And Charles, I find this interesting, given so much of the discussion in this country right now about religious tolerance and the fact that it seems to be a double standard because we've got that, but then of course we're all talking about this mosque in New York, which apparently the Judeo-Christian community that comes out saying, we don't want it, doesn't get a say in the equation. And maybe I'm just being too sensitive to my side. And I need to be more insensitive to my side in order to accommodate sensitivity to the other side. Correct me.
No, I think they should make the Christians work out in the middle of the day and not give them water and let the Muslims have the night when it's cool. I mean, obviously that's the way we're going, right?
Well, you're bigoted, and I applaud you for that. Michelle, what do you think? What do you think? How do you clear this up?
I'm a football fan.
Okay.
And they have to have water. I mean, they can't play without water. I'm a football fan. Sounds like there's some really talented kids here. They have to have water.
So you are a compromiser on this issue. You compromise.
We are talking about football.
Yes.
This is an important topic. It's football.
That's true enough. Well, okay. So Rich, she put me in my place. Didn't take long. I mean, is this like a non-issue or just
I think we ought to have two practices.
Okay.
Those who, think that maybe walking 40 days and 40 nights through a desert is tolerable.
Okay.
And those who believe that, it's not. And I'm convinced that those people who have a faith where they think 40 days and 40 nights through a desert is perhaps not too intolerable will get all the starting positions and their name may actually...
North Carolina recently, there was a school, a private school, Davidson College, that has about 1,800 students on campus. And recently there was a ruling by the Attorney General's on a 3-judge panel saying that because of the U.S. Constitution, First Amendment rules on religious speech and a separation of church and state, they could not have state-sanctioned police officers, law enforcement officers, on campus to protect the students or to arrest the students for violations or anything of the matter, because that would be, as Jim Wynn wrote in the opinion, that would be it's a religious institution and it would violate U.S. Constitution against laws establishing religion by creating excessive government interference in a religious institution. I see this as a red herring argument, but Rich, how do you parse this? And I just think it's a misreading of the First Amendment, in my humble opinion, but what say you?
I say you're absolutely correct. It is a misreading of the First Amendment. I don't see anywhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe if we go do a word search, nowhere will you find the phrase separation of church and state within the First Amendment. It doesn't say that. In fact,
look at that.
I have my handy-dandy Constitution right here, and the words read thus: Congress shall not make no respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So, where do they get this whole argument of you're separating the church and the state and making it justifiable that you allow these people to make up these laws as they go along? It's totally not valid, and I think they need to toss it out.
There you go. Revenge of the Nerds, he carries it with him wherever he goes.
Totally agree with Rich there. Separation of church and state is a myth. It doesn't exist. And if you look at what's happening, it's kind of ironic that in New Jersey, you've got a judge that basically used Sharia law to trump New Jersey law. Did you hear about that recently? The Muslim man and woman got divorced. She accused her husband of raping her while they were married. And the judge says, well, it's under Islam, a man can't rape his wife because she's supposed to, whenever he wants it, she's supposed to give it. And the judge laid him off the hook. So you got one situation there where, of course, you're stepping in and allowing religious law to trump secular law, and you got a place down here in the Carolinas where just the opposite's happening, where they're saying that secular law trumps religious law. We need a sanity check here. We need some consistency.
Well, see, not only that, but it's a misappropriation. I mean, not only is there the historical aspect of this, which, Rich, you're getting to, is that the separation of church and state language was never in the Constitution. It was in a letter from Thomas Jefferson as sitting president to the Danbury Baptist Church. Without getting into grand detail, it was a group of men concerned that we might create a theocracy in this country, or a state-sanctioned religious denomination, which Thomas Jefferson was writing to correct, to say we're not going to do Great Britain all over again. We fought a war for the right, for the freedom to establish no state-sanctioned denomination. But to say that religion did not have a role, and the Judeo-Christian ethic that went into a lot of their thinking did not have a role in day-to-day operations of government, and how we might stay the course on principle, they thought that was lunacy. Michelle, the thing I want to throw out to you is that the thing that this is all a misnomer to me is that this Jim Wynn character discredits some of the facts around this whole situation. It was a girl named Julie Ann Yinser back in 2006 that prompted this issue. She was a student driving not on campus when she was pulled over for a DUI. She was on an adjacent road, not on Davidson College campus. And turns out she wasn't a student of Davidson College, which is good because the sin of drunkenness would have gotten her 10 times over. She thought she had it bad with the state. She'd burn in the hell for all eternity if she was a Davidson student. But that notwithstanding, to me, how did she even fall into the jurisdiction of this?
That's a really interesting question. I don't know whether she fell into the jurisdiction or not, but if it's adjacent to it, who knows where she was parked, whether she was pulled over. I think the interesting thing about this case is they call the university a religious institution. And if it is a religious institution, the law of the land is set up by precedents. But is it really a religious institution? I mean, that would be like calling Duke University or Emory University a religious institution. I don't know if they really are.
Yeah.
That's the question, I think.
Well, and that's a good question, because that's the question that they're bringing up right now. I mean, this guy, Jim Wynn, the judge, skedaddled off to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals shortly after, pronouncing this judgment on this situation. But a lot of the folks that are looking at bringing this appeal up through the appeals process, are saying, would this impact Duke? Would this impact Wake Forest? Would this impact a lot of other schools in the state that perhaps fall under the same category? Would it not? The legislature in North Carolina, for example, ultimately it allows the Attorney General to certify police agencies to hire cops for nonprofit private schools. And Davidson says it doesn't try to influence a student toward one religious persuasion, but it does come the school itself is embedded in a bedrock fundamental value system, which happens to be a Christian value system. So, in my mind, a lot of this doesn't really make sense. And ultimately, I go back to the difference here between dogma and prejudice. And it's been an issue that the right and the left that the left has accused the right of for a long time, ever since secular humanism made its way in our university system. Dogma itself is a definite stated belief, and prejudice is a direction. But the difference of opinion here is that you may get into more of a heated argument if you have two dogmas butting heads. But this whole thing about pluralism and just let everybody do their own thing and just live however they feel, and morals don't have any credence. That's prejudice. That's gray matter. Ultimately, you can't even engage somebody on that level. You've just got to ignore them. That's where the intolerance comes in. It actually comes in on the side of prejudice, not on the side of dogma. Because the dogmatic folks, they'll get along. We'll have debates. The prejudice folks will just write you off entirely. And that, I think, is the much more dangerous situation we have at hand today. We should be addressing it, not avoiding the issues. How else do we grow? We'll see you tomorrow on The Hub.